This is a wonderful poet. She has range, funny, serious. Oh my God, did she just say that? And on and on. So rather than have you hear me blather on like I sometimes do, we're going to have Anne White as our feature at Sacred Grounds this evening. Anne, my friend, you are on.
Thank you so much, Dan. And thank you for inviting me to do this feature. As you know, the Sacred Grounds open mic has really helped me get through the pandemic. Coming here every week and getting to know all of you across the country has been just terrific. And I'm honored to be the featured artist tonight. I'm going to try to give you a full range of the types of issues that I like to deal with and the kinds of poetry. So I know 20 minutes is not a long time and I should get going. The first poem is about aging. It's called Life is Like a Lemon Ice. Life is like a lemon ice, sliding down easy on a summer afternoon. Sweet and tart, too soon it melts away, succumbs to heat of sun and eager tongue. No turning back, no saving it for later, no savoring its flavor once it's gone. So lick this luscious lemony confection with passionate abandon, awakening old memories and sweet imaginings of future pleasures. Life is like the seasons of the year, sunlight waning with the passing days, leaves so pale in springtime, turning shades of red and umber in the autumn as they spiral to the ground to form a crackling carpet underfoot. So too, the elements will have their way with you and me. No way to stop the coming of the dark. So don't delay. Whatever moves you, do it now. And the second poem is on the theme of love. Coffee courtship. Coming together late in life, we linger over coffee, savor time and talk. Two separate brews reminding us of our separate lives. Habits formed, now spilling over into morning coffee shared. His brew requires a daily ritual, sacred and intense. Set the grinder growling, filled with satiny fresh roasted beans. Near boiling water drizzled down the narrow neck of the glass carafe. By alchemy, transforming water into luscious amber satisfaction. For me, he makes a cold press witch's brew, steeped overnight. A feeble substitute for proper coffee in his view. But he indulges me because it smooths my cranky edges, whets my appetite for eggs and toast and tender talk. Still, he coaxes me to join him in his quest for pure, delectable perfection. Just take a taste of mine, he urges. I bury my nose in the steaming mug, aromas rich with promise. I take a sip and close my eyes to concentrate and appreciate. He watches, waits, anticipates, and finally pops the question. How's the coffee, he wants to know. Is it the best ever? I hesitate. Shall I play with him or tell him what he wants to hear? And the next one is inspired by Langston Hughes. The Negro Speaks of Rivers. And it's related to water, which plays a large part in my life. And in this case, rivers. I've known rivers. I've known rivers great and small, up close and from afar. I've known waterfalls and estuaries, mountain streams and tributaries, dams and dikes, canals and locks, bridges, ferries, tunnel crossings, aqueducts tucked underground, fetching water for the cities. I've swum in frigid spring-fed pools, rafted rapids, watched an old man teach his grandson how to cast, and tickle trout in shadows. I've lived all my life by water, raised my family in Manhattan, an island wrapped in rivers. To the west, the Hudson looming Palisades, and on the other side, East River bridges reaching out to factories in Queens and Brooklyn shipyards crouching low beside the water. In the harbor, tugboats guide reluctant cargo ships upriver as Lady Liberty stands tall, a welcome symbol of the promise of America. But now I fear we're headed in the wrong direction, bending nature to our will, ignoring warnings, torrid winds and devastating drought, tornadoes, floods, and hurricanes, glaciers calving from Alaska to Antarctica, volcanoes boiling over in Hawaii, lava rivers flowing fast to sizzle in the ocean. On the island of Manhattan, not content to be constrained, rapacious real estate investors drive massive pilings in the river, build new towers of steel and glass with sky-high prices. Nature's voice is loud and clear. Our world is wounded and in need of care. Will humans heed the call, reversing course to save the planet? Water feeds the soul. The Nile, the Amazon, the Yangtze, ancient spawning grounds for human rivers, generations streaming out across the sea, some captive and some free. Like Langston Hughes, I revel in my heritage. The Thames, my father's birthplace, the Seine, my mother's love, the Mississippi and the Hudson, home to me for half my life. Thank you, Langston Hughes, for opening up your view of rivers I may never see, connecting us, two souls from different sources, one deep human river flowing to the sea. And the next one is the darkest one in the set. It's called Running with the Mob. Mid-October in Vermont, the hills awash with color, harvest festival, and I, just 17, couldn't wait to celebrate with country games and races. Best of all, the grease pig chase. We were all pumped up and swept along with the cheering, laughing throng as the pot-bellied pig ran squealing, darting left and right to escape the circling crowd. A big boy pounced and pinned the pig to the ground. As we gathered round, the pig peered out with his tiny snout from under the victor's belly and uttered a piercing shriek. like a human primal scream. Knowing the pig would soon be pork, I wondered if he knew too. We were innocents, just 17, no harm intended. My thoughts flash back to a Leni Riefenstahl film we watched at school that year. A Nazi rally in Nuremberg, 1934. Hitler, high above the plaza, howls with rage, his passion amplified by monstrous speakers. And the people howl and roar, voices rising, hearts on fire, driven by the drumbeat of the crowd. We know the history, the ruthless measures put in place to preserve the purity of the Aryan race. Kristallnacht made intentions clear, no innocence remaining. Still, so many turned away, too scared to speak or offer refuge to a child in danger. Now, once again, a despot urges followers to foment violence, this time in America. Who will dare to speak up this time? Who will dare defy the lies, face certain retribution, even death threats meted out to anyone who's brave enough to speak the truth? When I was young and innocent, I reveled in the pure delight of running with the mob. But then I learned the perils too. Today, no longer 17, I fear for our democracy as forces fueled by hate and bigotry are given license to do anything to win the prize they covet. And I know when blood is stirred that anything is possible, with all in thrall to the will of the wilding crowd. And for this next one, we get a little lighter. This is a poem about part of what helped me get through the pandemic. It's called Another and Another Book in Time of Darkness. Bring! The doorbell rings. It's Amazon delivering overnight. I grab the package, settle in my favorite chair, open up a promised land, and revel in the rush of luscious language, like the first bite of a juicy peach in summer. Plunging in with urgent need, just 3 days and I'm halfway through, but put it down to write a poem. Concentration like a flea, I hop from one task to another, all left halfway done, the cleanup of my desk begun, then put aside, a load of dirty laundry, calling out for soap and water. Contagion stalks the corridors, the grocery stores, the churches. Life hung out to dry, past and present, flapping in the shifting breeze of dread disease. Time and memory fleeting, days all liquid, slippery. Friends and futures fractured. It's dawn of 2021, and I awake. A few stray wisps of sleep still lingering. Last year's murky shadows finally dispersing, chased away by hope arising on the near horizon. A sip of coffee, Sunday Times for company. I'm hungry for a book I see reviewed. But now with hope, my patience grows, no longer needing books right now to fill in spaces occupied by neighbors in more normal times. I turn away from gaping maws of oversized establishments with overnight delivery and order from my local independent bookstore. Books are in my family's DNA, a way to fantasize and travel, from Narnia to Trotsky, from Ta-Nehisi Coates to Rumi. My father's volumes full of nature, art, and architecture, cheek to cheek with poetry and French novellas favored by my mother. And my books, now grown wild, end up in stacks that keep on climbing, spreading out in disarray, on chairs and sofa, desk and coffee table, perched beside the bed and toilet, spilling out of bookshelves like a bumbling, tumbling waterfall. I vow to choose some books, a few, to give away. But time escapes. I never do. Those precious books, my comfort food in time of darkness. Now, my husband, Wayne, always complains that my poems are too long and they don't rhyme. So he wrote a very short poem that rhymes that I would like to read you now. And it was written last year in the midst of the pandemic. With seas of virus rising and winter coming in, I think I'll have a vodka and add a little gin. That's it. Short and sweet. And he says he's not a poet. And the final two are looking to the future. The first is called A New World Beckons. It's May, now well towards summer. Crocuses and daffodils are over. Birds are nesting 2 by 2. A pair of falcons welcome 3 new chicks. 24 hours a day, the webcam watches, mounted on the southeast tower of the bridge across the Hudson, with warnings to all viewers. Wild birds feeding young may not be pretty. Weaker fledglings often don't survive. Upriver from the falcon's nest, I too live perched above the Hudson on a rocky bluff, together with my mate and other aging folk, now getting ready to break out of shells constructed to protect us from the scourge of deadly virus ravaging the world. We were fortunate, well cared for, with meals and all necessities delivered to the door. But what a year it's been, this year in isolation. No live concerts, no gatherings with wine and cheese, no touching. Most made it through, but 5 did not survive. Across the country, nature fills the vacuum left by loss of life beside the Hudson. A new grandson is born by San Francisco Bay, conceived and incubated in the lockdown. We watch on Zoom as the belly grows, free room and board provided for the resident within, until he's pushed out of his comfy nest with lusty cries as he flies free. Now finally, as vaccines tame the virus, trips are planned, but some hold back, still hesitant to share the air with strangers. My husband, Wayne, reluctant to be cooped up on a plane, suggests we travel the old-fashioned way, by rail, to visit family across the country. A whole new world is beckoning, with promises of new adventures, as we learn, like babies, how to crawl, then walk and jump for joy, untethered from our masks and free to celebrate the gift of living. And the final poem is the short one that is painted on the wishing wall by the Hudson River in Sleepy Hollow. Our village is about half Latino, mainly Spanish speaking, many recent immigrants, and half generally pretty rich white people. So one of the goals of the wishing wall was to bring people together. The poem is called Come Walk With Me. This is my wish, that this great mural by the river may become a bridge, a multicolored ribbon, tying people and ideas and neighborhoods together. Many voices, one community, one Sleepy Hollow we call home. Come walk with me and talk about the future. Let's begin. Thank you for listening, everybody.